I'm Martin Jarvis, and once again I want to welcome you to Listen. This is going to be a heavy conversation. I'm not sure exactly where it's leading to. Usually I kind of know where I want to go, but we're going to talk about the universe and everything in it. As many of you know, I am a minister, but I'm a pretty progressive minister that reads, that has an education. And I was raised in the church. At 17, I went in the military, and it wasn't long after I became an atheist. I was an atheist for 10 years. Had a revelation, epiphany one day by myself, kind of believed in the existence of God. And I've just been on this path. I was 28 then. I'll be 64 in November of 2022. And so here I am. And I never stopped studying, never stopped learning. Now, one of the things that turned me off, or a couple things that turned me off about the religion when I was a kid, I was serious in it. Because I was going to Sunday school, and we had serious church, serious Sunday school back in those days. It wasn't fun, it was fun because you didn't know any different, but we were actually sitting at little school desks, with the little wood front there. And this is throughout, the elementary years of Sunday school up into the teenage years of really learning stuff. And then after Sunday school was over, we'd go upstairs, and then their Sunday school would be over, and then we'd all sit together as families in church, learning some more stuff. So I learned. And what I really realized, I think one of the things that my catalyst to atheism was that, a lot of the stuff that they're saying can't possibly be true. Like there were no dinosaurs. The earth was made in 6 days. Everybody on the whole planet was lost except for that little group. Come on, all this stuff, man. I was raised in an educated household. How could you believe that? Now we still embrace the God of the Bible, but in the midst of all that, this young person was challenging that a lot of that stuff just didn't make sense. So I said all that to say, so now I'm here. And I had this epiphany when I was like 28 years old, and again I'm 6. So there's a lot of years gone by. And I've been on this path of learning and discovery. Gotten educated within this time frame, earned an associate degree, bachelor's degree, MBA, scuba certification. My world view has increased. And then, of course, with the internet, there was no internet way back then, but now there's the internet, the World Wide Web, and even my education was over like the last 10 or 12, 13 years. So my education has come with the presence of the World Wide Web. My world view has expanded. And so a lot of the tidbits that most religions, including the Christian religion, embrace are like nonsense, okay? I'm not saying God is nonsense, but we're going to talk about that too. One of the things that really thrill me is like quantum physics, and I love that. What especially about I love is I love studying quantum physics, and not having to take school tests on it. So I could just keep studying it for fun and just pick up stuff here and there, but I really don't have the knowledge of, having studied it formally in college or anything like that, But it's very interesting. And all the cool stuff like the black holes, the entanglement theory, the uncertainty principle, the Schrodinger's cat, and all these experiments, with the photons and all this pretty cool stuff. Particles and atoms and all that stuff, man. I like studying. I like listening to it and having conversations with certain people who kind of know more about it than I do. And I have some theories of my own. And so when I'm considering these things and then considering God in the mix, how does all that work? So I guess I should say that one of my frustrations with people, I guess, have been even from this religious journey of exploration that I've been doing since I was 28 now, is that folks will simply disregard what they choose not to believe. And so then you have the religious folks just denying anything that has a scientific stamp on it, simply because that ain't God, you know. But you know, I find just as frustrating, from the scientist's perspective, simply eliminating things that could be like God, okay? Now the reality is we just don't know, okay? We don't know how the earth came into existence. We don't know how it's sustained. We don't know. I mean, we have telescopes, we have devices and craft that has gone with cameras that have gone throughout the universe, and we've seen all kinds of things. So many things that we can't explain or understand, like black holes, dark matter, how the universe is expanding so quickly, and all this kind of stuff. I have some theories, but I'm putting all that in my book. But then you take the scientists who just automatically say there's no such thing as God. To me, to be a scientist, or to be even a religious person that is open to truth, which Jesus said will make you free, that you can't just wipe it off the table simply because it doesn't line up with what you believe right now. It has to be on the back burner at least. And so that's the similarity I see with the religious folks and the scientists, that both simply choose to deny what the other is saying, even though they don't have an actual pertinent truth to the position that allows them to deny that, okay? And so that's what we're going to talk about. I think one of the reasons behind that is because the religion has maintained a medieval understanding, or even a pre-medieval understanding, on this concept of God, okay? Now from my belief, from my understanding, is that in every other field of study, or every other place of knowledge where we have found ourselves throughout history, as we have become more and more enlightened, we adjust our opinions. Not so in religion. And I think that's the problem really the scientists are having. I think the scientists are having this problem with a lot of the things the religions are saying just can't possibly be true, okay? And you know what? A 9 or a 10-year-old would probably question the same thing, as I know I did when I was 9 and 10 years old, okay? But I want to suggest, even with the universe thing, it's believed by the scientists that everything is contained within the universe, and that there is only one universe. Even to the point, if there was another universe, it would be contained within this universe. The multi-universe is contained within. It wouldn't be on the outside. There's nothing on the outside of the universe. That the universe just one day simply came into existence. That the universe is ever expanding. And we are in it. And with everything else. And so these are the kind of issues that I think need to be thought about. I believe the religious people are limited in their growth if there is anything that they just simply wipe off the table if they don't have a valid counter answer to. I think the scientists are limited as well if there's anything that they just wipe off the counter without first having a valid counter argument to. Okay, so for me, when I even consider the concept of God for real, okay, I don't see it as most other religious people do. I see it as we don't really know what God is. We don't even know if there is such a thing as God as it pertains to the definition that we have applied over these thousands of years. Okay. I believe that there were certain attributes and certain evidences that human beings and life and nature and things, reflected. That the only possible answer would be, there must be God. There must be Allah. There must be Yahweh. There must be Krishna. There must be a whole myriad of other ones, okay? when really that was more of a simplistic response to something that would be more complicated, okay? And so then I see this universe. And I see us as human beings. And one of the issues that I take with the scientists and with the quantum physicists and all that stuff is when they're observing the universe, they're observing the universe from a scientific perspective. I am the scientist, and I'm observing all the things in the universe, what they look like or what I can't see, how they respond, the evidences that they're really there, even if I can't see them, the effects that they're having on this, the effects. We're observing all these things, but as the scientist, I'm failing to see that I am part of this. Yet I've taken myself out of the equation because I am the observer. What I'm suggesting today is that in this universe, we are also a particle. What are our attributes, okay? And I think this is a very important thing that has to be considered. Now, the scientists, and pardon me because I'm no expert, I'm a layman, but the scientists have this thing called, this entanglement theory. Where something could be here, something is here, the exact duplicate of it, of this particle, could be way across the galaxy. And by observing this, you know what that's like. That sounds unbelievable, but it could be true. And so there are many weird things that the quantum physicists have theorized and have even discovered mathematically that they figure must be true. And they're all theories, and they might be true. All of them or some of them, probably some of them. But what I'm suggesting is just as you can look at those particles and see a commonality that you can't tell where it is or how fast it's spinning. That's the uncertainty principle. There's so many attributes of all these different things. You can look at this black hole with the event horizon, and you can see how stuff slows down, or theorize how stuff slows down as it's going in and it's ripped apart and all this stuff. But you can't look at yourself, human beings, as being particles in all this that have very interesting attributes of themselves. And what I find so crazy is that we are using these modern devices so we can amplify and bring closer to us these things that we can't see with the naked eye, and try to observe and understand why these things are responding like they do. But we don't use that same critical eye with ourselves. We are as well particles. Especially when you compare us to this gigantic universe, ever expanding. Our attributes. Why do we respond this way? Why do we do that? I think these would answer other questions, but we're not looking at this particular particle and trying to understand the attributes of this particle. Why is it that what goes around comes around? Okay, crazy as that is, and we've said it all our lives, and most of us believe it. When you do good, good comes back. When you do bad, bad comes back, and we've experienced it most of our lives throughout history. So through different nations, karma is called karma over here. It's maybe from the Middle East. It might be called reaping what you're sowing. And from our perspective, in these nations, it's like what goes around comes around. We've seen it. So in these bodies that we are actually particles in this universe, there was a relationship to each other that what I do happens to me. Doesn't that sound like one of those principles? This is going to happen to you principle. I don't know what you want to call it. We also see the power of our minds. We see if this particle is sick, that there's a placebo. There can be a placebo effect. So this big particle is sick. It's not well, and I can believe I'm being given the cure, and then I become well. So this once sick particle, by its own belief, has made itself well. What about that? See, we are particles. Why aren't we examining these as well? Okay? If there is no challenge, there is no growth. There has to be an antithesis to your thesis, and as a result of that battle, there has to be a result. There has to be either an adjustment, a rejection, or a total embrace of the antithesis. That's how you grow. It's sort of like lifting weights. You know how you grow muscles. You lift weights so much, or you run, or whatever it is you're doing, that you've just destroyed the muscle cells. And then when those muscle cells come back within a 20 or so hour period, they're stronger, okay? That is an antithesis to your muscles. And I'm talking about an antithesis to your mind and to your beliefs. See, what separates man from the lower animals is that antithesis that we allow to challenge ourselves. Well, they're never ending, or they should be never ending. But with an animal, they're challenged to a point, and then it stops, which is why they don't create rockets, they don't create airplanes, they don't create cars, they don't create schools, institutions of learning. Because they've stopped challenging their thesis at a very low level. Okay? Especially there's a reason behind all this. Now, I could go on and on and on, and you probably could too. Think about this. But think about this now. We have emanated from this universe that we reside in. Okay? And we have and within this universe on this planet. Okay? And on this planet we have, even when you follow the evolution back from an evolutionary perspective, we emanated from here, okay? And this is who we are today. Now I'm thinking of it and I'm considering the fact that it's believed that this is just one big universe, that there's nothing on the outside of it. It just is, right? And all the stuff, including us, is contained within it. Well, I'm thinking, let's then take away from the human beings for a second. Let's go to some simple bacteria, okay? Like the bacteria in your gut. They say there's good bacteria and bad bacteria. I know I eat yogurt every day because I guess it's supposed to be putting good bacteria in my gut. So there's good bacteria, bad bacteria. Stuff helps your digestion and all that. But from a bacteria perspective, what's it thinking? Probably nothing, right? Now, as I understand, the way bacteria multiplies or procreates, whatever you're going to call it, the way they make more bacteria is that they divide, okay? The bacteria divides. Like every 12 minutes, I believe, they divide. So imagine that. That's it. They just divide. And now there's 2. And then those 2 divide. And then there's 4. And they exponentially, right? And that's how bacteria grow like that. That's how they create themselves. They divide. But there's no transfer and growing of intellect in that type growth, because this one just becomes 2, okay, and this one just becomes 2, and that one becomes 2, and so on, okay. But then we want to talk about sort of evolution, to try to understand the concept of evolution. And what if this bacteria evolved? Okay. Now what is evolution exactly? Evolution can be simplified to the mutation, to cockroaches, okay? Say you got a house that's got cockroaches, right? And so you call the exterminator in, and they come in with this cockroach spray, and they spray the whole house. Kills all those cockroaches. But guess what? It doesn't kill all of them. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about, right? The reason it doesn't kill all of them is because some of them were mutants. Not like the movie, but some of them had things about them that was abnormal to a normal cockroach, okay? Physical characteristics that were not normal compared to other cockroaches. So when the other cockroaches were sprayed with this cockroach spray, whatever their attributes were kept them alive. Now understand there were a lot of different type mutations, so many other cockroaches with other type mutations that were still affected by the spray, they died too. But the only ones that didn't die were the ones whose mutations were different such that cockroach spray didn't kill them. Okay? So now they were in the minority, but they were there, they were mutants. But now when all the other cockroaches are killed, the only ones left are the ones with this particular mutation. Okay? And then they start procreating. They start, having relations with each other. And they create tons more cockroaches now that are the new mutant form. But guess what? They're not the mutant form anymore. Those are the normal cockroaches now. But even within those new normal cockroaches, there's other mutants. And what's interesting now is, this is what they find when they go back and spray. They got to upgrade that cockroach spray, because now this cockroach spray, remember, it doesn't do anything to these cockroaches who are now all over the place. So they have to get a stronger cockroach spray. So they come in there back in the house and they spray the cockroaches again. It's like a year later or something. Kill all those cockroaches. But guess what? The new mutants are still there, because they were mutated from the new generation of cockroaches. They weren't like them. So really, they were the ones that were kind of messed up. The mutants weren't like normal. They weren't normal at all. So when they came in and sprayed all the new normal cockroaches, they all died, but the new mutants were left. And then they ended up creating more cockroaches. But now those cockroaches are different than the previous ones. They say that cockroaches have been on this planet more than any other creature, longer than any other creature on this planet. But I guarantee you, they're not the same cockroaches. They're generations and generations, exponential generations upon mutant cockroaches. And so that's how cockroaches evolve, through their mutations. Okay? So were the old ones that were the majority, for whatever reason, died, all that were left were the mutations. They began having sex, creating new populations. And then when they all died from something, what was left from them were the new mutants. And so on and so on. That's evolution. And so let's get back to that bacteria. So now we have this bacteria that, they just, divide and make new bacteria. Dividing every 12 minutes to make new bacteria. But imagine if there were mutants. There was a mutant bacteria that didn't divide. There was a mutant bacteria, for whatever reason, simply created another bacteria without having to divide. And other ones. And they ended up, whatever bacteria would do like that, they ended up becoming stronger and stronger. And what you'd have here is, now you have a particular bacteria with whatever bacteria intelligence there is. But not just dividing and just becoming two with the same intelligence. This intelligent bacteria, mutant, passed its little bit of intelligence on to the next one. That one grew, passed its intelligence on to the next one. Now they are growing, they are procreating, they are not dividing like the regular bacteria were. Eventually the regular bacteria, they either stick around or they die and keep creating generations, but the mutants are now creating, based on their mutations, having relations with other little mutant bacteria, creating more bacteria, and they're creating, and they're becoming more intelligent each generation. I mean, just a little bitty intelligence, they're just bacteria. But tack 6 million years onto that. What do you think you got? You got a very different looking bacteria, if that's what you want to call it, than these other ones that are still doing their own little thing of dividing every 12 minutes. Okay, that's evolution. And so let's just follow the life of this now really extremely evolved bacteria. You're talking about 6 million years. It probably looks a whole lot different. It might even have arms and legs, and a nose and a mouth, and talk. Who knows? But they're way more intelligent. Now suppose they started considering their existence, because that's what you do. I mean, when you're of a very limited intelligence, you're just surviving, you're living. Where am I going to eat? Where am I going to survive? How am I going to keep from getting eaten? You got all these basic thoughts going on in your head. And some of them are simply just natural survival instincts, But as you begin to evolve, you begin to find ways to perfect those things which were once instinct. How am I going to eat? Where am I going to take shelter? How am I going to make this shelter better? How am I going to make this food taste better, last longer? All that kind of stuff, because you're evolving. Now once you've evolved past the comfort, this little bacteria, I don't know what you want to call it now. But then you start considering your existence. You know, who are you? Who am I? Where did I come from? And so you evolved quite a bit from that simple bacteria you once were, but you haven't evolved to the point where you can comprehend what birthed you, you know, where you emanated from and all this. You don't even know what all this is. You just know there's this stuff, grass, or gastric juices, whatever you want to, whatever's in there, I don't know. But you're contemplating, you're thinking, trying to understand. And as you evolve and evolve even more, I'm talking about millions of years, you're going to start looking around and trying to figure out where you came from. And you're going to think, man, this. I must have come from here. Or look, I must have come from here. Or you just don't know. But the reality that we know, because we're not really in that picture there, is that you came from that place which you are. You emanated from it. Okay, you grew from it. Okay? and so you're going to come up with stuff because now you're thinking. You're not a genius, but you're thinking and understanding and comprehending, and you're looking up as far as you can see because you're still in this stomach as the bacteria, and you're thinking, man, this must be the universe. All this stuff going on, the individual's probably just, farting or burping or whatever. You're thinking the noise, the sound, and all this stuff, man. You're measuring that stuff because now you have measuring devices and you're able to see further and you can see this lining of this and you think that's it. And so you find a way maybe to get out of the stomach somehow through a hole or through this or through that, and there's even more going on out there that's even amazing. Nobody's ever seen that stuff before. And you have these measuring devices, man, and now you got this beat going on. We know it's the heartbeat, but you got this beat going on. Your measuring devices, man, it's a steady beat, and it has a particular rhythm. Man, so there's math. We're realizing you could discover things in this thing with math because it has a rhythm. Look, it comes every this many seconds, timing that. And then you're timing, wow, there's this stuff over. We know it's the blood flow, but you're timing, the sound of this stuff that's running over here, and it's almost got the same mathematical equation as this other beat has over here. And you got that we know is the breathing from the lungs and all, but you're measuring this sound. And it seems like there's a mathematical thing, but it isn't always the same. And sometimes it rumbles and you're measuring all this stuff, man. And so there's all these. So consider that as that little intelligent bacteria is trying to figure out where he's come from. He's measuring all this stuff in his surroundings. This is it. It must be connected to math. Because these beats and these slushing sounds and all this stuff, they go by the same beat. They go by the same numbers, Imagine how far that could go. This is the world. That's what little bacteria is thinking. This is it. And guess what? It is expanding, Because when you talk about the life of a bacteria, which is 12 minutes, right? So before it was every 12 minutes they were splitting. Now every 12 minutes they're having babies. For the past 6 million years. So 12 minutes in the lifespan of a bacteria, and you consider the lifespan of a human being, of which they're inside of, believing this is their entire universe. They're thinking, man, this universe is expanding. Now the baby is just growing into a toddler, growing into a teenager, growing into an adult, growing into an old person. Is just growing. And you're thinking the universe is expanding. Your universe is expanding. That's why you're in the universe. And there's nothing else outside of the universe that you can even conceive or try to comprehend because this is all you know. So I'm just saying that it's very interesting. Us. Now where we are, what we're seeing, what we've emanated from, where we've been able to travel to, what we have deduced by it, how this can be the only one, and it's expanding. How arrogant, but how understandable. And you're getting back to that bacteria, how we we are believing that as if we were the bacteria in another entity, and how, when the things I want to do happen, and there are good bacteria and bad bacteria. The bad bacteria end up being destroyed or whatever. And as you're a bacteria, as you're part of this body, everything functions for the benefit of the body. So as long as you are good, trying to be good, you're going to be healthy, and you're going to be moving the direction you're supposed to be going. As the bacteria in that body, and possibly as a human being on this planet, in this body. And so the reason I use that bacteria is because it is within us. And it has no clue about us, or even what's on the outside of us. Now, it has a clue about itself, somewhat. It has a clue on the outside of itself, and somewhat on what is outside of itself, but what goes beyond that? Nothing. From that bacteria's perspective, it always was. So for me, maybe regarding the God part, our definition can't possibly be what it is that we have defined God to be. Or why don't I put it this way? Our definition could be exactly what we've defined God to be, and what God is not close to what we have defined God to be is representing to us what we believe God is, but God would have to be greater than that. Okay. And whatever that which is greater is, probably doesn't even resemble what we could imagine. How we've emanated, what we've emanated from, what we have emanated from. What are we? Where are we? Where is God? Or maybe what is God? Are more valid questions. But anyway, I'm writing a book. It should be done in about 3 months. It's called Quantum Physics and the Missing Link. I can't wait to. The reason is, because I don't even know where this is going to end. What I've just shared with you is where I am right now. I think I have about 26 pages written, okay? Anyway, it should be about 3 months. It'll be published. And I have another book out there called Race, Religion, Politics, Children, Existence. And my wife kind of trips out because I don't really sell them. I go buy them myself at cost, and I just give them to people I know. I guess I'll never make money that way. But I just like talking about this stuff, and I like folks to be talking about this stuff too. How's that? Well, anyway, I hope I haven't bored you too much. And I do want to thank you for listening. And I want to invite you to listen again. You take care.